The two biggest obstacles people face when trying to cook a meal every night are the obstacles of time and money. And today on Simple Snacks and Mindful Meals, I'll be giving you 10 easy steps to follow to help you become a better meal planner and help you cook a home-cooked meal every night. The number one tip to cooking every night is having the right equipment. And in front of me I have my favorite appliance, which is an express crock pot. I've had it a while now and it looks pretty beat up. It gets used multiple times a week, sometimes 2 times in a day. It's amazing. You don't have to have this brand. I'm not sponsored by them. So any kind of slow cooker that has multiple buttons. So this one, you can slow cook, you can do rice, you can do soup, chili, there's meat settings for those of you that eat meat. There's all kinds of different settings on here. The reason why this is so useful is because if you want to use it as a crock pot and set everything in the morning and go to work and come home, you can use it that way. But if you want to use it expressly, you can basically do a lot of the same things in just half an hour. I can put all of my ingredients for a soup in here, and in half an hour I have a soup that tastes like it's been cooking all day. So this is a very useful appliance to have. It's actually one of the best time savers you can have, and it helps with the budgeting of time, but also with the budgeting of money, because you can put things like cheap ingredients like dried beans and vegetables, like just maybe dried beans, onions, and peppers. It's not going to cost you a lot, but it's going to taste amazing. My second tip is whenever you make sauces, stews, dried beans, soup, or salsas, to make double or triple of what you actually need and freezing them. Now, how this budgets money is that doing a lot of these things from scratch actually is cheaper than buying them. So buying dried beans are cheaper than buying canned beans, and with a crock pot or something, you can just throw them in there and it doesn't take you time. You're just throwing them in there with a little bit of spice, a little bit maybe of onion or something, and leaving them all day. So you're not taking a lot of time. And then having these little packets, this is purple pesto, and I use these little containers from IKEA. This is enough for 1 whole box of pasta to flavor it. I just go into the freezer, grab this, I can pop it in the microwave for 10 seconds, throw it in my pasta, and my dinner's done. So I like to call this kind of like helping Jenny, future Jenny out. So, past Jenny went ahead and made all this pesto for me, and now future Jenny is able to use it for multiple dinners, and I don't really have to think about it. Tip number 3 is to make a weekly menu. I actually have this little calendar I got from Target. I'm not in love with it because it's actually kind of hard to erase. And you don't have to have the calendar on the wall. You can use a little wall, like a little planner or a calendar on your phone. I just kind of like the physical because my kids always ask me what's for dinner, and I can just go point to it. It also helps me kind of plan things out. But having this is nice because my husband puts down his work schedule. I put down anything I have to do with the kids. I put down when I'm grocery shopping, put down anything fun we're doing on the weekend. And then from there, I can figure out how much time I'm going to have to make my meals. And then I basically meal plan right here. And sometimes you can change your mind. It's not set in stone. And you'll get better at this as you keep going, but it helps you. So you don't have to think about it. I know that's a lot of an issue for people too, is when they're budgeting time, they don't want to spend the time to think about what they're making. So you pick one day in the week where you've, went shopping and you already know what you have, and you plan it out, and then you don't have to think about it for the rest of the week. And everybody already knows. And if you have older kids or a spouse that cooks or whatever, you can put down who's cooking that night. And it just kind of helps share the duties. Tip number 4 is making a shopping list, and it goes with the menu. They definitely go hand in hand. So you might want to make your menu first and then make your list, or you might want to make your list and see what you get at the grocery store and then make your menu. They go together, and you're probably going to do them on the same day. I prefer an actual physical list. I know you can use your phone. For me, I love Target, but if I use the Target shopping list, it's not convenient because I also want to scan my cartwheel at the same time, and I have to keep changing what I'm doing in the app. I don't like that. So instead, I make an actual physical list. It's nice too if you have older kids and they can read. I give it to my daughter, and then she becomes like the task manager, and she's like, "Wait, did you get the broccoli? Did you get this?" But you would think this seems like a waste of time. I'm budgeting time, But this is gonna help you budget time and money, because when you don't make a list, you forget stuff. And then you're going to the store maybe twice a week instead of the one time a week. Or you're going to the store to pick up something that's, you know, your convenience store, your store that's closer to you, but you would have got a better deal at Costco, but you didn't go to Costco this week. Whatever. It helps you budget both time and money, because when you have a list and you stick to it, it helps you not get caught in, ooh, this is on sale, or this is there. No, it's not on the list. The list helps you budget, and it helps me with my kids. You know, my kids are like, oh, can we get this? No, it's not on the list. You know, so it really helps. So having a list definitely goes with the menu. And this has been a real game changer for me. For a while, I didn't use a list, and then I just had like random things. I'd have a whole bunch of dried beans, but then no butter or whatever. It was just, you know, it wasn't really managing. So what I like to do is I actually open up my fridge, I open up my pantry, I look at everything, and then I make the list from there with an idea of exactly what I need and what I'm gonna make for the week too. So they go. Tip number 5 is kind of similar to tip number 2, but whenever you make a grain, you want to make double or triple of that, and then try to have some of your menu share ingredients. And you can do that with different things. So this is quinoa, and I had quinoa bowls last night, which is just, you know, bowls that everyone gets to choose what they put into it. And then later in the week, quinoa is going to be turned into burgers with some lentils that I also found in the freezer. And so those will turn into little veggie burger patties, and that's what I'll use it for. But I saved myself time because I used my express crock pot, so it took me 20 minutes to make my quinoa, but now it will take me no time. And then if you decide, for whatever reason, you made all this quinoa, you don't want to do it twice in the week, then freeze it and pull it out of the freezer. So again, you're just kind of helping yourself. So quinoa, rice, things like that. Pasta, not so much. Pasta doesn't take that long to cook. It's easy to cook, and it doesn't really freeze well, especially gluten-free, which is what I eat. So I don't recommend doing that ahead of time. And also having pasta twice in a week is kind of sometimes hard unless you really dress it up, like one's a pasta salad or a cold pasta, one's a warm pasta, or you put maybe pasta in a soup or a salad or soup or a stew, and then the other one is just like a regular pasta. So tip number 6 kind of deals with not only budgeting time and money, but wanting to have more flavor and getting bored. I know a lot of people talk about, well, I like to go out to eat because it tastes better, it's different flavors, like I just only know how to make a few things. Even if you only know how to make a few things, if you keep changing up the spices or the herbs you buy, it changes up the meal all the time. So like for instance, Trader Joe's has been carrying this mushroom and company. It's kind of got an umami flavor. It's very different. And I've been using it in, you know, rices and burgers and things like that. It changes things up. I have their everything but the bagel. I'll use that on salmon or something like that. Tofu. It's just, the idea is that you get bored of the same flavor, maybe also your family does. So when you're at the grocery store, put on the list a new spice and look for some new spice or herb that you're going to try out, and then that kind of adds to your flavor. And then also fresh herbs and fresh citrus add a lot to food, and they're not that expensive, and they're easy. The herbs are easy to grow right in your kitchen, but those things are big time flavor enhancers. They're, you know, $1 for Italian parsley, like a bunch of it, or cilantro, and they're going to add so much freshness to maybe a stew that you pull out of the freezer. And it's just those little tips that make your family feel like, oh wow, like you're this amazing chef, but really you're just being conscious of changing up the flavor, and that helps with, you know, calendaring and, you know, kind of having a list. All those things go together. Like, I'm gonna make this stew, but I always make this stew and make it, you know, every other week. How can I change it? Oh, I know, I'll get a new spice. And so it just kind of livens things up for you. Tip number 7 is whenever you do your grocery shopping, if you can come home and clean your fruits and veggies and even cut up and prepare some of them ahead of time for the rest of the week, that would really save you a lot of time. So my favorite way is I actually take some baking soda in a big bowl of water, and it's about like a handful, and then I kind of zhuzh it around, and then I put in the different vegetables and fruits to be cleaned in there, you know, and just kind of let them soak, and then I rinse them off in a colander, and then I wrap them up. With things like lettuce, a lot of times people will say, oh, it's like it always turns soggy in the fridge. Lettuce actually really needs a good cleaning and then a good drying, and then if you wrap it in a towel, it will last a lot longer in your fridge. So that's one way to help you. Celery does much better wrapped in aluminum foil. It'll keep for weeks in your fridge, but just in a bag or in a crisper drawer, it doesn't. There are certain things you can't cut up ahead of time, and one of them is potatoes. You just can't. If you try to cut it up and use it later in the week, it'll be really gross. It'll start to grow things on it. And then if you decide to cut up onions, your fridge will smell really strong of onions, no matter what you put it in. So, you know, things you can cut up ahead of time are like herbs, I like to do a lot of cucumber, and I'll put salt on it, tomato with salt. The salt helps kind of preserve it, and they'll keep in the fridge for about a week, and I can pull those out, put them on salads or put them on top of tacos, whatever. You can also ferment your vegetables. They'll last a lot longer with that, and I have a video on fermenting under Nourish Your Body, if you're interested in that. But really, coming home and washing everything is nice, because then you have your fruit bowl, you know, everything's clean. Your kids can come home from school, grab an apple, or you can come in the morning, grab a couple of things of fruit, throw it into a shake, and then there you go, you're done. And just while we're on the subject of shakes, if you know you're a single person and you're just cooking for yourself, there's no shame in having a shake often for dinner. It's healthy and it's easy and it's cheap. And so you know you're going to get yourself like a really good meal, and if you had a really busy day, there's no shame in that, and it's definitely better than having a bowl of cereal. Tip number 8 is use the right salt. Use sea salt, or this is the pink sea salt. The best is Celtic sea salt, but I don't have that right now. It has all these trace minerals in it. Using the regular table salt, the iodine salt, is really gross. It's not good for you at all, but also it doesn't have a good flavor. So a lot of times people say, I don't like to cook at home because at a restaurant it always tastes so much better. That's because they salt everything, they flavor everything, and they often cook with butter. So those are those 3 things that you're thinking, oh, this is like, I could never make this at home. You could, you just have to really get thinking about it, you know, like, did I salt that? Did I flavor that? If you do those things, it's not a lot of extra time, it's not a lot of extra money, but it's gonna make those foods taste so much better. Tip number 9 is keep it simple. It's not a restaurant, and if you don't have a lot of time and you don't have a lot of money, it doesn't mean you can't eat every night. It just may mean that it's not going to be these extravagant meals, and that's okay. You know, there's nobody that says you can't just have a casserole for dinner. You don't have to have the casserole and a salad and a meat. You don't have to do that. There's no rules that say that you have to do any of that. You're the adult, you get to choose, right? Just because you grew up eating a certain way doesn't mean you have to do that at all. If you want to just have some broccoli and steam it and throw it through the blender and make it into a soup, you have Gordon Ramsay's famous broccoli soup, and it's took 1 ingredient. It's simple. You don't have to make it harder than it is. You know, if you like things a certain way, you just want to do a macaroni and cheese for dinner, just do macaroni and cheese for dinner. You just want to have a salad, just have a salad. Like, it doesn't have to be these courses and all of these things. And on the same note, don't make multiple meals. Like, your kids are picky. Everybody's kids are picky. So I tell my kids, like, you have to try it. And then I have things in the refrigerator like ranch and other things that make it a little better. When they're a little older, I say, if it doesn't make you want to throw up, you have to eat it. And that's just the rule. Like, it can't be pizza every night. It can't be macaroni and cheese every night. I tell them that. And you have to eat vegetables, and just make them try it. And if someone in the house is picky, have whatever they like on hand. You know, if it's tapatio or ranch or whatever, have that, and watch them pour it all over your food and make you feel kind of sad, but let it go, because they're eating it, right? So no more multiple meals for multiple people. If you're the chef and you eat plant-based and gluten-free, then everybody does. That's how it is in my house. I keep actual bread for my family, real bread, not gluten-free, and actual cheese for them. And then when I make meals, we can sprinkle the real cheese on there just for them at the end, or, you know, they can have real bread with the soup or the stew. But I'm not going beyond that. I'm not making 2 pastas. I'm not making, you know, this meat meal and then a vegan meal. I don't do that. It's all one meal with little modifications that I can do in a second, like throw some grated cheese on. Tip number 10 is, when in doubt, roast it. So sometimes you get to the middle of the week and you realize that you haven't used up the potatoes or whatever, and things are starting to look funny. Wash everything, all the vegetables, cut them up, stick them in the oven on like parchment paper on a nice cookie sheet for 400 to 425, or on the barbecue, and roast them. And then you can use those for a couple of days after and cut them up, put them in meals and stews or whatever. But now you know that none of that produce is going to go bad. It's all good. And you can even do that at the beginning of the week. You can roast everything and just plan to use it. I've done things where I roast tomatillos, or I've roasted peppers, makes a delicious salsa, and you can roast them all at once. Fill up that oven, especially in the winter when it's cold and you need it. You can use it as a source of heat anyway. Roast everything at once and then use it throughout the week. I hope you enjoyed these 10 tips. I hope it was useful for you, and I hope you're able to get there in the kitchen and feel a little more confident and feel like it's not as much pressure for you, that you can actually do this within a budget of time and money. If you have questions, please put them below. Please subscribe for more, and please share this with a friend that could use it. And I hope to see you in the kitchen.